Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, December 10th, 2019. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. And our co-host today is Carol Ray, founder of Notary Pro. Carol, welcome. Thanks for being here. Even when you're sick.
You broke up there. What did you just say?
I said, Carol Ray, founder of Notary Pro. Thank you for being here, even when you're sick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I'm not as sick as my husband was.
Yeah,
he got pneumonia.
Mm.
He got pneumonia and he was supposed to get his cataracts removed, and but he got it done. They did it. He got just enough of the coughing stop to be able to do the cataract surgery yesterday. So
Awesome.
That was a good thing.
Yeah, so glad to hear that. Carol.
So how's everybody else out there? Anybody else sick?
I think it's going around pretty good. So based on that, Carol, what?
Don't even.
Perfect timing.
Don't even ask.
What are you, you know it's coming. What are you excited about this week?
I'm excited about how busy my students are.
Yeah.
That I'm excited about. I am really excited that my husband was, after months and months of waiting, was able to get the cataract surgery.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a life changer sometimes too.
Yeah, you can't see.
Yeah. Love it. For me, I've always got something that I could be excited about, but one thing that was just really highlighted lately is just how grateful I am to be part of this community who are so loving and supportive of people who need it the most. We had an amazing office hours that showed a level of support that was way above and beyond. And as many of you know too, Carol, if it's all right with you, I'll just talk about Jason right now too.
Please.
Jason Braunstein, one of the co-founders of the Safe Haven for New Notaries on Facebook group, he suffered a major heart attack, and he's in a coma and it's not looking good. And
You're breaking up. You're
Am I
breaking up a lot.
Is it me? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the time to break up. How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So Jason Braunstein suffered a major heart attack last week. He's been in a coma and unresponsive since. And the news today, it's not looking really good. He's in critical condition. And the community has come together with the GoFundMe and all the words of love and support. After talking to his daughter and his wife, they truly appreciate all the kind messages and prayers that you've been sending his way. And the GoFundMe is really gaining some momentum, guys, but it really needs support. So you're going to see a huge push from me and the TNT emails, even on this call, to support him and his family through everything that they're going through. So I posted the link there. I'll post the links in the email, but Jason was and continues to be an amazing beacon of light to this community. And Safe Haven has helped so many new notaries their safe sanctuary where they can ask questions without being torn apart. So any type of support that you can show him and his family would be greatly appreciated. And I just love being a part of a community that's open to these types of conversations and steps up to the plate when our community needs them the most.
And everybody has to understand, everybody who doesn't really know Jason, this is one really, really terrific man. When he was first thinking about doing this Facebook page for newbies, we talked quite a bit because that's what he really wanted to do, is to make a safe place. And I got to know him as Bill has, and he's a really good man. And I didn't realize that he was, as you said that you thought he was your age, Bill, that he was about 43, right?
I think he's older than that, based on what Valerie told me last night. I guess he just had his 50th birthday on November 29th.
Oh, he did. See, I was thinking he was more like 47, 48.
Yeah.
But that's young. That's too young. And last year, we almost lost our 55-year-old son. And it's just tragic. And he's got, a wife and 2 kids. And so I'm going to send a blast email out, I think, to my whole database and ask everybody for $5.
Yeah. Every little bit will help in this. So thank you guys. Thank you for allowing us space to share that and share our feelings and support Jason as well. Now, I think further ado, we have some questions that we can jump into.
Yeah, you're still breaking up really bad, but I understood what you said. You've got questions.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
We're going to switch internets here.
Can I just share one little thing?
Absolutely.
Please.
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder of the Safe Haven group, and anyone on the call that's in the group already, we are going to keep it going. Jason wouldn't want it to close down, so don't fear that you're going to lose that resource.
Judy, you guys will do great. Thank you so much for doing all that, because you put a lot of work into that. I know.
Yeah, the two of you are a heck of a team. Thank you for doing all that you do for us. All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, great. Let's jump in now to actually, is there anybody that has a live question? Remember guys, this is your time too. So if you have live questions that you would like to ask by unmuting yourself, just maybe raise your hand, give me an indication or indicate in the chat window that you have a question for us. And while you do that, I will jump into the presentation and we'll get started here. All right. So Shelby says, I'm not sure if this would be considered personal gain or not. Could I notarize a document to take my father's friend off the deed, even though one day the farm might be mine? Carol, what do you say?
I would have somebody else do it.
Yeah, even if it's legally allowed in your state, the best, just so it can never be contested, would be to have a truly independent notary.
Could come back and bite you later on, years down the line. You never know. And you're not protecting yourself or, your father's, you're not doing a good job if you do it yourself.
Yeah, just, just to remove any possibilities, it's best if you don't. That's a general rule of thumb. If you're ever going to be a beneficiary of property or wealth or whatever it is, it's best to just remove yourself completely from the situation. Mary says, can Google Voice be set with something to differentiate the ringtones between phone numbers? I just got my Google number, but I don't see how to know which number it's coming from. So I think this is more of a tech question that I probably can't answer. Carol, you know anything about Google Voice?
I had it for a long time and it was so confusing. That's it. And I just removed it. I can't, unlimited.
I used it a few years ago too. I don't know how the intricacies worked, but I still think it would be great because I know lots of you use Google Voice. If you can share even in the chat window what you do to help differentiate the phone numbers, or if it can't do it, maybe you can indicate in there as well. It looks like we already have a question, so I'm going to move over to Jeffrey Clark. Jeffrey, do you want to unmute and ask a question?
Well, I was just going to comment on the Google Voice because I use Google Voice and answer that question. So Google Voice, they made some changes. It used to be that you could set up different voice messages for different phone numbers. So you can actually customize voice messages for different clients and so forth. But they took that away. So the only thing that you can do is there's a setting in there to either see the number that's calling you, and then you have that in your phone book so you'll know who's calling you, or you can have it show the Google Voice number that is your Google Voice number, so you know it's actually coming from that Google Voice number that's calling you instead of your regular phone number.
Oh, so you know it's a business call.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great to know. Thank you for sharing that, Jeffrey.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Joe Lopez, welcome. You have a questions for us, Joe? I'm not sure if he can hear us.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure can.
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's something that I actually also use. And I guess what I've done, I put my Google Voice phone number in my contacts, and I have assigned that number a special ringtone. So even if I can't see the phone, I can tell if the call is coming in on that line or if it's coming in on my other line. So that might be helpful as well.
Beautiful. So you saved your business Google phone number as a contact in your phone, and then you could assign a separate ringtone so you know when it's a business call at least coming in.
That's correct, yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
So
Appreciate
that
it.
helps me.
Yep, thank you.
Sure.
Miranda Davis. Miranda, if you can hear us, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Miranda, going once? We'll come back to you, Miranda. All right, Calera has a great question in the chat window. How do you prove you are a certified signing agent to a title company or escrow agent? There's a couple different ways to do that. Probably the easiest and most popular is to send them a link to your signingagent.com profile. Carol, do you have an alternative to that you suggest, or is that it?
Well, I think that they need to have certificates that they can send to people that are, can be verified. Or as we give a certificate when they complete the elite program, and it goes into all of their profile, signing agents, signing order, whatever they're signing up for, our records, they need to provide that certificate.
And I'll tell you that I like to use signingagent.com because it just keeps everything in there. I can see how much E&O insurance you have. I can see that you've got your criminal background check. So that's just like a one-stop shop for me. That's why I like to go there. I try to make it as easy as possible. I'm not going to be sorting through emails or a spreadsheet, looking at documentation and doing all that. So that's why just one quick source is all right. Anybody else live yet? Okay, no problem. We can come back to Miranda if you have a question. Let's jump back in now to our presentation. All right, from KCS. I'm tired of the third party. How long does it take for a title company to call directly? My other question is, well, let's just stop there. Carol, on KCS, is this the right question to ask? If so, how's it work?
Okay, let's talk about what we train, you and I.
Yep.
Okay? Who takes people beyond the foundation and gets them to work with title companies and go beyond the signing services? That's you.
That's me.
I'm just the fundamental person. So you have to answer this question.
Well, I'll answer this, but Carol, this is right up your alley too. So none of that. This is a fundamental question, and I think I'm going to address it from two different ways. Number one, the way I interpret this is sitting back and waiting for the phone to ring, which I am staunchly against. If you're just sitting around waiting for a title company to call you and ask you to come in and build a relationship with them, or they're going to build a relationship with you, you will be out of business in no time. That is not how this business works. So title companies may call you directly because they use the same directories that signing agencies do, like signingagent.com, 123 Notary, Notary Rotary, Notary Cafe. But title officers do use that when they have these one-off signings in different states. The responsibility lies on you, though, to cultivate relationships with escrow officers directly. If that's the business model you choose, then you decide who you want to work with, number one. And I call it my Fab 100 list. You go through, you research, you find out which companies are hustling and bustling. You do a little bit of research on the people who work there, And then you find a creative and unique way to get your foot in the door and start building a relationship, and you cultivate that relationship. It takes a little time, but it is so worth it. Probably because it sounds like the KCS is experiencing a little frustration with signing companies for whatever reasons he or she might have, or she might have. Going escrow direct does not solve all problems. It just creates different problems. If escrow direct is not this easy breezy kick back and just start making a few $100,000 a year. Its relationships are dynamic. They change. You've got personalities, you've got egos, you've got good, you've got bad, just like with the signing companies. So choose wisely when you decide to do this. It can't just be a financially driven decision, and you have to take the action to build those relationships. They're not going to come to you. They're not just going to call you up one day. Now, and there's tons of resources to help with that. If you're in my course, KCS Phase 4 really helps with that. There's also, I have free YouTube videos that will direct you to amazing resources to help you grow this business.
And I just want to make it clear that is not something that I do focus on with my training. My training is very intense, detailed, basic, but that is not something, I mean, we do have that list of companies that people can get started with signing services, but this is something that you once you know what you're doing, you can't just jump off the ledge and expect that you're not going to die. It takes time. It takes honing your craft and knowing what you're doing and starting to build a relationship and a reputation, where people they've got good remarks, you've got a good following. And I think that's when you can start to reach out and do the things that you suggest.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not part of what I do, what I train.
Beautiful. Love it. And that's a critical part of this. It's amazing when you have the competence and then the confidence that comes with that competence. The universe really does open up. You'll start meeting people that are like, I want you to do all my signings because you've nailed it. And those opportunities do tend to present themselves. Okay. Before we jump back in there, I wanted to, Sue just private messaged me too. That was something I was going to do on office hours and we ran out of time. But I'd love for in the chat window, if you guys can start sharing different gift ideas that you use. If you do go escrow direct, or even if you don't, if you give Christmas cards or gifts to loan officers, real estate agents, or escrow officers, if you would share some of your ideas in the chat window. I know a lot of us, we're right at that point where we've got to start thinking about that. And then we'll kind of revisit that as we get a little traction on there. But please share some of the things that you give away as gifts or thank yous in the holiday season. All right, let's jump back in here. Now, the second part of her question too, Carol, I was wondering on your opinion on this. My other question is, are there any single parents who take their children on assignment? I feel bad that I have no choice, I feel bad that I have no choice but to take my daughter with me. So far, the signers don't seem to mind. I can't afford a sitter. It's just frustrating. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I agree. I've seen a lot of people, single parents especially, they're desperate. They need to work, and they have a situation. I think that as long as they speak to the people ahead of, not just show up with your kid. You've got to, I think you need to let them know your situation. I'm a single parent, and I have a child that comes with me. They're this age. I can bring a few toys. I promise that they won't be a problem, but I need to make sure that this is going to be okay with you. And I see no problem with it. I know it sounds unprofessional, but it is what it is. And most people are very compassionate. I think most people understand the situation that a single parent is in and don't have a problem with it. But you got to make sure it's clear right at the front. If somebody says no, you're going to need to cancel the signing.
Well, and I have a similar and different opinion on this. Like first, I totally appreciate the situation that you're in. And I think you have to do what you have to do to provide for your family. Absolutely. The challenge is that before you got to that point where you're bringing a child on a signing, I would make 1000% sure that you have exhausted every other option that you have. I mean, babysitters, family, whatever it is. This should be an absolute last resort, and it should be not a regular thing. It should be an unusual circumstance to bring your child. There is so much liability involved in that like if a homeowner asked their lawyer if that would be okay, they would probably freak out, because that just opens up a whole other can of worms. The other side is, and I'll speak to this directly because the first part of the question was about going escrow direct. If an escrow officer were to learn that you brought a child on a signing, that would probably end the relationship. That's just the reality of it. If they found out that you took a child to their signing, I don't see that going in a positive direction. Oh shoot, where was I going to go with that? Now, having said that, where there's a will, there's a way. Like this will be a great story someday about how you built your business, even through this adversity. But you just have to be aware that it's a really big deal to do something like this. And it says my video is chopping up again. Is that? No, you guys can hear me?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
I wanted to, if you don't mind, this is a great place for networking. And I don't mean just with other notaries, but with single parents, is to just try to get in a group of other people trying to make $1 to support them and their children, and trade off services, babysitting, other notaries, other people that do the party things and all of those kind of things. That's where Meetup is a good option.
I love that. There are other notaries. We encourage networking for business, but there's all kinds of other shared services. I love that. And Carrie, I know you have something to add to the children's story as well. Can you please feel free?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. As far as the babysitting thing, I totally understand that. I think that if someone is ever in that position, your child goes to school, and perhaps it would be best to, buddy up with one of your child's friend's parents. My daughter-in-law does this, for example, for parents who can't pick up their children after school, so she buddies up, and they actually pay her pretty decent just for a couple of hours until they get off of work. So the same situation could possibly apply to single parents who are doing this job for the first time. I mean, it is really rough, but I think that pursuing that might help them, even if it's for at least 2 hours or something. Perhaps that may work for them as well. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I think that's one of the options for sure that should be exhausted before you even consider taking your child on a signing appointment. There are lots of those options and of course, just like Blanca says, I don't know how you explore and trust, but there are organizations that run background checks, and they have these rating systems, and they probably have an app for that now. So you can do your due diligence and research and still be responsible in finding an alternative to this. Okay, great question. I'm so glad you brought that up, KCS, because that really sparks a conversation that we haven't had yet here before. Okay, let's jump in now. Oh, we got some questions already here. So Miranda, I saw your question in the chat window, but if you'd like to unmute and ask, feel free. Okay, so maybe she doesn't have a voice. Her question is, she's all set up for general notary work except for loan signing. She currently owns a company doing drug, alcohol, DNA, and phlebotomy, mobile, and office. The challenge is she's not social media savvy, so that's where she's froze up. She has LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, and Yelp. Please help. I need words of encouragement. Well, the good news, Miranda, is that social media is extremely important for establishing authority and eventually will lead to business, but it's not one of the top ways that general notary work is generated. The top ways that general notary work is generated is going to be relationships again. Most people who are doing general notary work, they are tapping into a niche. So maybe that is estate planning, like living trusts, last wills and testaments, medical directives, things like that. So they're building relationships with estate attorneys. They're building relationships with senior living facilities or nursing homes or convalescent homes or whatever they might be in your area. So that's really powerful. Attorneys of any kind can be really helpful for networking and building relationships with. The other way that you really generate money with general notary work is search engine optimization. That most of your clients are just jumping on Google and they're typing in notary near me. And if you have optimized your website for Google to be able to find it, you might end up in the top rankings. SEO is a huge pie to get into. But if you just take little nibbles at it every single day, updating keywords, adding tags to your photos, adding photos and videos to your website, using Google My Business to help enhance your presence, all of that eventually really takes off. Does anybody on the call right now have success with SEO right now that you can speak to? Carrie, I know you're really good at this. Can you chat about that for a second?
Yeah, I just, so I do Google ads. I've got 3 businesses going. And each time you get a certain amount of hits or whatever, they'll let you know. They'll send you an email. I got like 4 emails this morning saying, hey, your photo got so many views, which is great because that's what you want. You want to put up photos. Google will let you do that if you have a Google account. And not necessarily the ads. So if you're signed up with Google, the best thing that I can suggest is just read up on everything that they have to offer that's free, number 1. Number 2, if you do the ads, you still have to read. It's a little complicated and it takes some time, but reading is the key. But it's wonderful when, I say, oh, I've got like, 20 views of this, the last thing I posted. And I think it was a holiday, a poster or something, but it got out there. And that's the purpose. You always want to keep your business fresh online. And if somebody does put in that I need a notary now in your area, you always want to try to maintain that visual presence. The ads will do that as well. You pay for a couple of ads. You can, I don't go over $50 because I can't afford it. But it works, any little bit works. So I would definitely encourage those that have a little bit of extra money to spend to go ahead and, take the time and really read everything that you can about Google because it's truly wonderful. It's, and I didn't start utilizing it until like the last 3 years. So I've been in business for 12, I can only imagine if had I done it before. And they were still improving. But now it's just, it's wonderful. It's like a godsend. So if you're in business, trying to make money in this business, you've got to put, reinvest in your business and put whatever little few bucks you have into Google ads and even Google Suites. It's like what, $11 a month. Yeah, I've got 3 or 4 of them and it's wonderful. And they really help you out. It's running a business now in this day and age is so much simpler than it was 12 years ago. And I encourage everybody to really do that. One more thing, as far as the SEO for your websites, I'm constantly updating my websites. You really gotta, with Google, they'll let you know which words will get the more attention. Obviously, we're notaries, so anything like notary, notary public, even Republic Notary will get you a few hits because, you know, some people just don't really know the terminology. So you constantly have to check those keywords out and tags, and get on social media and use those tags as well, so they can focus and get your business pinged on Google. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Now, can you give me a real quick idea of your return on investment? You spend $50 a month on Google Ads. If you got just one appointment from that, does it pay for it, or does it get close? How many appointments does it take you to get your money back?
So for one, I do, I'm a paralegal. So I do, in Illinois, I can't call myself a paralegal. I'm a glorified legal typist or legal documentation preparer. So for one ad that I'll put out for divorce, let's say, you know, I charge $500. That pays for the ad and then some. And I reinvest all my money, well, practically all of it, back into the Google ads. And then I have, of course, you know, the notary reviews, and then the Chicago Notary Services as well. So I'm constantly reinvesting my money into the business, and it pays off. Even doing a $5 Craigslist ad, I guarantee you will get people calling you. Maybe not within 5 minutes, but at least within the day, maybe the next day. I've done that, you know, and before they started charging, I was doing it all the time. Every week religiously, I would put my ads out. But even for $5, you can't beat that kind of advertising, and it stays up for a week. So, and I'm kind of glad Craigslist did this now, because it's not spam. You know, you're paying $5 for an ad for your business. I guarantee you somebody's going to call you. If you do do a right ad, look at different examples, look at what not to do and what not to say. Trust me, it's wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks, Carrie.
Sure.
On the Craigslist topic as well, I will share with permission that there is one of our notaries who proactively advertises and contacts people who are selling their vehicle. She happens to be in a state where the title has to be notarized before for a transfer. So she proactively builds these relationships with the sellers before they sell their car. So when they find a buyer for it, they have her number right away and they call her. And she's built a nice little business. That's just another item. All right, gotta mute. Sorry. Okay, Judy Rochelle, you have your hand up for a while. Sorry for the delay. How can we help?
Okay, so I hear all about building the relationships. So is it a good thing for me to call the title and companies and just say, hey, I'm a notary, I would love for you. I've had a couple of them said, well, we'll give you a shot. We'll try you out. And since that's happened, I've been getting more signings, yay.
Mm-hmm.
But is that a good business practice?
Well, I think when you're going to make that determination, you just look at results. Is it working for you, Judy?
Yes, sir.
And you have your answer. Now, I think you can go above and beyond that too, because there are some people who respond really well to phone calls, and then there are some that do not want to be bothered. And then if you have the personality where you can just make those cold calls, and they're like, well, come on in, we're going to give you a shot. I mean, that's great. I don't have that. Number one, I have tremendous cold calling. I don't know if it's a fear or it just turns my stomach. I don't want to do it. And whenever I get people on the phone, Miranda, you're sharing your screen. I'm taking that away. I can't hear you, Miranda. You're muted too. So I'll come back to you in a second. Judy, wherever I was going with that. So
Cold calling.
I'm more of a researcher. I want to warm up the call as much as I can. So that's why I research the company. I'm like, this is the company I want to work with. I see them everywhere. I know they're working with this builder. That's who I want to work with. Then I research who's in charge, who's working in that office. How can I relate to them? Can I congratulate somebody about something? And that's where I'll either send an email or make a call. Or even if you're going to pop in and do an office visit, that level of research so you know who to ask for you know what to talk about, and you're not just in there selling something, you like yourself and your services, that changes the entire, it flips the conversation on its side. So it just changes everything, so you can get in a little differently. And your way,
Okay.
and your way works as well. And results are how you measure this stuff, guys. If you're keep doing the same thing over and over again, but you're not getting the result you want, you've got to change your activity. So if you do things my way and a particular office doesn't like my way of doing things, use Judy's way. Pick up the phone and call them and see if that works, or try something else. We got tons of ideas in here. Thank you,
Well,
Judy.
I have my husband. He helps me with that. So he's the go-getter.
Nice. You got a team, you built-in team already. Love it.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
And before I jump over to Miranda, I think she's really eager to share. I just want to, Carol, I forgot to draw for my Kindle winner yesterday. Do you mind if I do it at the end of this call?
No, not at all. Go ahead.
So guys, I'm going to draw for the winner of yesterday's Kindle on today's call. If you don't know what that is, you can register at notarycoach.com/Kindle. Totally free, but the winner is going to walk away with a Kindle Fire HD 8 today. I just want to give you a heads up on that so you can register if you haven't already. All right, Miranda, I'm going to unmute you. How are you? Oh, Miranda, stop touching the screen. I can't unmute. Oh, there you go. Okay. I still
Oh,
can't
I'm
hear
so
you,
sorry.
Miranda. Miranda, are you there? Oh, we can't hear you. Sorry. Do you have a microphone? No? Okay, sorry. We'll have to come back to you. All right, guys, let's move on to the next question. Don says, in the corporate world, the last few months of the year are spent planning for the new year and setting goals. Do you have any suggestions for preparing a business plan and preparing for the new year of business? Possibly any resources that we may use? This is a great question. This is a perfect time of year to be thinking about that too. Carol, what's your opinion on business plans?
I'm going to unmute myself, but if I start coughing, I'm out of here, okay?
Sure, yeah,
I'm sorry, it's really bad today. Well, I think that we have to, I think that comes a time when not just at the end of the year and planning for the next year, but we need quiet time. Like I take quiet time when I've got something in my brain that's eating at me, something I want to do. Like I've been working on this over 50 thing. And in fact, I want to ask a question, but I think it's important that we take these times of quiet away from everyone and just really think about what direction we want our business to go to, and try to incorporate mistakes we've made, things that we've learned, to put together ideas, always changing. Notary to Pro has been around now 10 years, and we're always evolving, we're always changing and doing something different. And that's important, I think, just to keep that spark, if nothing else, keeps you excited about what you do. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to spend time, quiet time, just thinking about this. It isn't something you sit down and do in a day, though.
Yep, totally agree. My planning, I think, really starts about the week before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving weekend's my big, deep stare. I call it my stare at the wall time, you know, like it just really process and think about the future. And then it's ongoing. Here's what's interesting about just human beings is if we want to create something new, it has to either come from inside us or it has to be information that we take in.
Oh, gosh.
So that's all right. So I do a results inventory each year. I just look at my life, at the things that I have. I look at who I have become, and then I compare that to what I want. You know, who do I want to be in this world? Why do I want to be that way? What would I like to experience in this world? And if there's a gap that's too far, I just analyze why that is. And I get really specific I set 5 major goals for the next year, but those are like buckets of goals, because in order to accomplish them, I might have to learn stuff. I need new skill sets. I might need to meet different people. So I kind of break it down, and then I see, and I put the wheels in motion. If I've got to learn this in order to be this, so I can get to here, then that's exactly what I start doing. And I have a really good, like 30,000 foot view of where I go. And then the other part of that is you just have to be prepared for nothing to go according to plan, because that's just the way things go. You can have the plan, but you have to be adaptable and shift with it too, and roll with the punches a little bit. As far as specific tools, well, my favorite tools for this are giant sticky notes that I post all over my walls. I've now got markers that write on windows. So every window in my house has become a marker board, which is amazing. And that really just helps my brain piece everything together and how I want it to flow. It also makes life for my housekeeper hell. So it might work, it might not. And then from there, I translate that onto paper. I'm old fashioned. I liked the process of writing things out. I write the goals. Goals are worthless if you don't keep them in front of them yourself, guys. I know there's that study that said, write down your goals and you'll be, 80% more of a chance that you're going to attain them. And that is true, but you can't write down your goals and stick them in a drawer. You have got to keep them front and center all day long. So I recite my vision statement and my goals every single day. I write them out every single day. I know what my goals are at all times, and that's what helps. I think that's the biggest gift you can do, because what happens is that triggers the subconscious. So you start making different decisions. Well, I know my goal is this, so I'm going to start doing things differently. So I hope that helps. Yeah,
I think you have to realize too that not everything that you do is going to be success. I think one of the biggest disappointments that I've had was when I came up with the idea to create a training course for people whose native language is Spanish. And we worked so hard to get this up and running and try to get it out there. And I was wrong. It seems apparently that people who speak Spanish or whose native language is Spanish, it doesn't matter to them that they learn in Spanish or in English. So that was a big disappointment. And that's the kind of thing you have to deal with. And when you do, when you come up with something and you think it's great and you're excited about it. And I did that for people. I didn't do that like as an income thing for us. I really did it with the intention that it would be helpful to people who were raised in Spanish-speaking home. And it's not working, and I'm having a hard time letting go of it at this point. Do I give it more time or not? So those are the decisions that we have to make too, not just what's successful, but what's not.
Yeah.
How do you feel about letting go?
That's huge. And I think, and you could probably agree, Carol, I think the biggest lessons I've ever learned in life did not come from my wins, not from the successes. It came from the failures and the flops. That's where I learned the most. So I've learned to switch my attitude about that and be grateful for those experiences, because you got to get out in the arena. You're going to take some hits, but that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good time for me to bring up prime time. Can I bring up prime time? Yeah. Somebody came up with a name, and if you're out there, would you please let me know, because I forgot who it was, and it was a great idea. I've talked about the fact that so many of our students in the last few years have been people in their late 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's amazing. People looking for new careers in their 60s, okay? And there's reasons for it, and we all know what's going on, in the country and with seniors and everything. So one of the people here, one of our audience suggested prime time, and I was thinking, okay, prime time notaries. So what we're going to be doing, and we're going to start, I believe, the second Wednesday in January. We're only going to do that just once a month. but we're going to be doing the Zoom meetings, and we're inviting people, especially the more senior people, to come in and talk about the things that affect them. You're young, you're a young guy. So you don't understand what it feels like to get out in the morning and out of bed at 76 years old. It's not the same as when I was 40. So we thought it would be really fun to share those disabilities. I mean, those things that do happen to you. You may not be able to drive at night anymore. You change the way you eat. Your timing is different. So we're really looking forward to this. And I want to invite people. I do have a few emails of people that were interested. I want you to know if anybody wants to get a link to this. I'm not sure what time of the day, but I would like to ask for emails telling me what time of the day might be best for you to have these 1 to 2 hour meetings. It'll just be once a month, but I think it's going to be really valuable for people. It could be that it's not going to be, but send an email to notary2pro@gmail.com with your name, your email address, and any ideas that you have. And see, look at this. I just turned 54 or 55, just turned 60. And we're looking at amazing people. Oh my God, my students, they're on the ball. I'm just so proud of people that are like over 20. And you look at them and you're not watching this. My granddaughters, I get to spend a little time with them, and what are they doing? So anyway, if everybody will do that, I think it's going to be a great group.
Yeah, that's awesome, Carol. Thank you for doing that. And when you're ready, let me know too with the links for registration or to Zoom or whatever, and I'll get that out as well on my end.
Okay, sure.
All right, cool. Thanks. We've got time for a couple more questions here. So let's jump in and do this real quick. Okay, Ava says, the first time in over 16 years to provide journal entries. This was a hard money loan assigned by a signing service. The request came through a comment on SnapDocs that just said, per title, I need the notary journal for this one. I responded, journal entries need to be formally requested properly. Consult the California Secretary of State if instructions are needed. Basically, a written request of the month and name of the document, etc., plus fees. The signing service responded, I will ask title to provide that. Carol, have you ever heard of that being asked?
No.
For journal entries?
Well, they have to request it, and they have to start with, and I would say the SOS was probably the best place to go, but there comes down a chain of command. If somebody wants to or demands to see your journal, they can only see a certain part of it, and it's a formal request, and it's something nobody can just call and say, I want to look at your journal. You don't do that. So
I love that we got this situation, because I think, there's a lot of, sometimes people or new notaries think that if a company that hired them paid for their notary commission and their supplies, that they have a right to their journal. They actually do not. The only person that can look at your journal is you as the notary. And then, of course, if you have to turn them into the state, they can do what they need to do. But there is a formal request in most states that anybody from the public can request. They just have to have certain details of the transaction, and they have to go through the proper chain.
It could actually be subpoenaed if it's appearing in court.
Yes.
And they can only see that portion that's required, that contains the information that they're looking for. You don't just make a copy of the whole page. You can only give them with that specific signing that they're looking for.
David says, you often talk about contracting work out to other NSAs when we aren't able to take a job from escrow ourselves. How does this work practically? Do you get escrow in touch with the other notary and risk losing that client? Or do you work as a middleman, just like a signing service? Do you need permission from escrow to do this? And should the notary send us a W-9 and contractor's agreement? What are the steps involved? Great question, David. So I'm sorry. Oh,
go ahead.
oh yeah. So I
was just going to say, this is where networking pays off.
Yep, totally. So there's really two different ways you can go about this, David. We talk about building a team or just having other notaries that you can rely on. And there's the two different directions. Is you could just be a resource, kind of a hub of information to your clients. So if they call you and you're not available, you can say, I'm not available, but I've got a great notary that I know, like, and trust in Susie, and here's her phone number, and you can call her. And the escrow officer can call or not call. Maybe they already have their own list. I can tell you that people who are trying to schedule something and get something done really appreciate that level of resource or connection. The other way to do it is not necessarily a middleman, but it is starting a signing company. And that is where you take the orders, you coordinate, you find a notary to fulfill the order, you pay the notary, and then the escrow officer or the escrow company or closing agent pays you out of the transaction. You'll keep a percentage of the signing fee. That is a signing company like that. And yes, you would want a W-9 from each of your contractors. Sometimes you'll have them sign an agreement. Sometimes you won't. It just depends on your business practices. And as far as the steps that are involved, I'm still working on just a resource to kind of guide people who are interested in doing that. I don't have it published yet, but I understand there are some blog articles and things like that already out on the internet for those who are interested in starting a signing company. Great question. So Julie says, I have a question about mobile printers based on last week's session statements that everyone should have a mobile printer in their car. Do people have laser printers in their cars or inkjet? And do they have dual tray or single tray? So that's a good question. If there's anybody out there who does this, go ahead and post in the chat window, and I'll offer some information here. Number one is when I tried having a mobile printer in my car, it was really frustrating, so I opted not to do that. And I build getting documents into the logistics of my day. That's easier for me because I'm escrow direct. For those that have mobile printers in their car, they're probably doing a lot of signing company service business. So it might make more sense that way. And the way I understand it is laser printers require a lot more juice for electricity. So that has to be like wired, or you have to have a converter. And a lot of mobile printers are inkjet because it doesn't require as much energy to keep them going. But hopefully we'll get you some feedback in the chat window. Also, Julie, there's a video interview that we did with Vernice out of Arkansas where she talks about and shares her setup. So maybe that will be a good resource for you. It's on YouTube. If you just Google Vernice on my channel's page, it pops right up. Carol, do you know anything about mobile? Do you have any students that have shared anything with you on that?
No, I know that there's some companies like Unlimited Ink Notary, we've talked about it, where he actually requires that everyone have it, and talked about the fact that there's a couple hundred notaries within his area, and by the time that he hones it down, he's only got like 28 left, and part of that is people that carry these. What I found was interesting is we used to do this when we were in Arizona. We had a little inkjet, an HP inkjet that would print in legal and letter. It was pretty quick. And I've talked about this before, sitting in the back seat of the car when it was 118 degrees out was not fun. But apparently what they do now is they encourage you to print the documents out at the home. You get the order, you've got your printer, they send you the documents, you plug it in when you get to the people's home and sit there at the table and print out the documents while they're being signed. That was pretty cool.
This is a crazy world. Crazy world. James and Abby, you have a question. Feel free to unmute and ask away.
I don't have a question, but I am going to speak on the printer. We are a young business. We've been doing business since February, and we still have signing agencies that we work for. And I think you're right. Sometimes, I mean, it's very frustrating. You don't get the documents to the last minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, make sure. We don't get the documents to the last minute. You have 5 or 6 for the day. So we did invest into a printer. We did put an inkjet in our car. But like Carol said, we have found success in just taking my printer in someone's house and printing them right there. And that has been, because we've had a lot of frustration with it. When you go and you look to be, unless you have your own Wi-Fi card, and it needs to be on the same Wi-Fi as your phone. And so you can't use your hotspot because it won't allow for that, because you're not connected to the same network. You're connecting to a network your phone's allowing. And so it won't print from your phone's hotspot to the computer. So then if you go to like anybody that has any restaurant or McDonald's or Starbucks, they want you to accept their terms and conditions. And usually we can't get our printer. And we have a little fancy one. It's not like a small cheap one. It doesn't have a way to accept their terms and conditions. So then we can't then be on the same network again. So we have found that it is easier, and we just tell the clients that, hey, we just need to be on your network. And most everybody so far has been just fine with that, because usually when they know that we have documents last minute like that, we've already communicated, we still don't have your documents, and they've had some frustrations with the same company that we're having. So they're like, we totally understand. It's been frustrating for us too.
Right.
Not that you're just advocating or advertising frustration, but you want to get the job done.
Right. Yeah. Love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Great to know. Awesome. Yeah. There's all kinds of options there. So that brings us right up to 57 minutes past. I think what we'll do right now is we'll just draw the winner of this thing, if that's okay with everybody. We've got a Amazon Kindle Fire HD8. Guys, this is just for saying just my way of saying thank you for helping Notary Coach surpass 10,000 YouTube subscribers. That was really awesome. I love having you here, and thank you for being a part of it. We'll go ahead and draw right now. Oh, there's 1,200 people in for this drawing, exactly even. The random number is number 560. Bear with me one second. We'll find number 560 is, oh, Judith Rochelle. Judy Rochelle, she was just on. Awesome. Congratulations. You have won the Fire HD8. So Judy, shoot me a text message with your address and delivery instructions. I'll get that out to you today. Congratulations. That's
Congratulations.
awesome. I'm so glad you were on the call today. That's great. Awesome. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for growing yourself and your business on the Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Carol, thank you so much for being here, even when you're down and sick. I hope you feel better.
I will. And don't forget, everybody, we've got the GoFundMe that Bill has out there for Jason. Very important that we all pay attention.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for all your support, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.